have a quorum. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the joint meeting for the Rules and Open Government Committee and Committee of the Whole. Tony, can we do roll call, please?
Arenas? Cohen?
Here.
Davis?
Here.
Morales?
Here.
Jones?
Present.
And I did note, I will like to note that Arenas will be gone for the entire meeting.
Okay. And before we start the meeting, Lee, I believe you want to make a statement about the gun harm reduction memo.
Yes, Vice Mayor. Thank you very much, Lee Wilcox, Deputy City Manager. So yes, I do need to read something. So to the Rules Committee members and members of the public, item G2 on today's agenda, which is reducing the gun harm and public burdens of gun violence, it needs to be referred directly to the City Council for June 29th. So our last meeting of the fiscal year, there was an inadvertent Brown Act violation due to a communication about this item between a majority of the Rules Committee members outside of this meeting, as 3 of the Rules Committee members have signed on to the memo. Therefore, there can be no discussion, presentation, or public comment or recommendation from the Rules Committee on this particular item. And if you are in attendance as a community member and wishing to speak on this item, please note that there will be no public comment for G2, the gun harm memo, and that will be agendized for June 29th at the full City Council.
Thank you, Lee. All right, so we're going to go to the first agenda, which is Tuesday, June 22nd. And we're going to start out pages 5 and 6.
This is Tony. I want to say that there will be an ad sheet for this, but it is being revised as we speak. So we may need to take action on the ad sheet after we take action on this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Tony. And the just make note that this meeting starts, the regular session starts at 11 a.m.
And I believe while the agenda says 9:30, Nora, can you please confirm that closed session is going to start at 8:30?
That was the recommendation because of the because it ran over earlier this week, and there is a rather full closed session agenda.
Okay, so
you're killing us, Nora.
It's up to you.
hey, Deb, you notice I haven't even objected. I'm just beating down everyone.
I know, that's why I had to say something.
Part of the reason is that because of the city manager's retirement, you have to take up appointing and acting. And so that's agendized on the closed session for next week.
Okay. So can the maker of the motion note that we'll be starting closed session at 8:30?
You can start at 9 if that's your preference. It's really up to you.
Oh, well, I'll let the maker of the motion make that
Okay.
call. Okay, so 5 and 6, 7 and 8. 9 and 10. 11 and 12. 13 and 14. A lot on the consent calendar. 15 and 16. 17 and 18. 19 and 20. 21 and 22. '23.
Vice Mayor Lee Wilcox, Deputy City Manager again. I've just been informed by the Housing Department that 8.2 should be deferred 1 week. So we need to note that in the agenda, but if the maker of the motion can include that, that will be deferred to June 29th.
You said that was 8.2?
Yes, the affordable housing siting policy.
All right, can the maker of the motion note that, please? Okay. 23 and 24. 25 and 26. 27 and 28. 29 and 30. 31 and 32. 33.
Councilmember or Chair,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones, sorry, it was a long night, as you know. The version you're looking at has more pages than the version I shared.
Oh, okay.
And then the ad sheet did come in. So we have items from the mayor for city auditor, independent police auditor, city attorney, city clerk, and then items from the city manager's office.
Okay. So did everybody catch all that? And so,
Vice Mayor, also just for the Rules Committee's information, we've gone through and made sure anything that can be deferred off until August is deferred. We've moved things to June 29th where appropriate, but it is a very full agenda with a lot of different items. So we are recommending and asking the city clerk to notify the mayor and the council to keep Wednesday morning, the 23rd, open for a possible overage on the curfew.
thank you, Lee. Now I'm going to go to the public. And I see 3 hands are raised. Tessa, go ahead.
Just a second, I'm doing speakers today.
Oh, no worries.
Go ahead, Tessa.
All right. Yeah, I guess your public comment is at the end of the meeting. So basically, I'm just making public comment about the rules. Blair Beekman called me to say that there was information that we were going to be addressing about our transportation management. And one of the issues, the 2 issues that concern me are the issue of not supporting working at home, and that has been something that Mayor Liccardo has fought the Metropolitan Transportation Commission's recommendation that the way we reduce our greenhouse gases, the 60% that we were, that they could figure out in the ways, as they did the science and figured out the science of what we need to do. They said, this is what we need to do. We need to work at home, and we need to have our big companies do that. And, Mayor Liccardo fought it. And I guess it got changed. And that's really a real travesty, a real horrific decision that we're making as we are facing the abyss, is what the head of the UN is saying, Antonio Guterres. We are facing the abyss, and the steps that we make right now are so critical. Either we go into the abyss or not. And so when we need to be working at home, and anybody of us that can should be. And this needs to be changed immediately as we go forward. That that is the way we can reduce our greenhouse gases, and we have to do that as soon as possible. And it's never too soon. And so that's one issue. And then the other issue is that in terms of transportation management, we need to be building without car infrastructure, and that needs to go forward. That we need to be not building for cars.
Thank you, Tessa. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Paul Soto, and good afternoon to you, Tessa and Blair. I didn't understand anything that Lee just articulated. That is a foreign language to me, and it's very frustrating as a citizen. There is no big U's and little me's in this city. That doesn't exist. Okay, I am just as equal to every single one of you on this council. Okay, and you are operating on information that has a direct impact on the context in which I exist in this city. And I can't even comprehend it. This is something, and it's not, and nobody would mistake me for being dumb or stupid. Nobody would make that mistake. Ignorant, maybe. That's one piece. The other piece is that my time is just as valuable as yours. And this nonchalant, very cavalier attitude with respect to, I stayed available psychologically and spiritually for 3.5 hours. And then I get told, oh, well, we're going to cut you down a minute. The level of disrespect and complete disregard to the public's time, I prepare when I come. And I think I've demonstrated that I'm prepared. I know the issues. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I want to say. And I understand what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. Okay. And so my time is just as valuable as yours. And so I would just ask that there be a degree of respect for that and acknowledgement. And if somebody can please come out and let us know, just let me know very early on, not an hour and a half later and then tell me I got to wait another hour. That's very disrespectful. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. To speak to item 2.19 and the Dearborn Station integrated planning, we all need to learn to be really clear that the CHSR can and will be built in the next 10 years from LA to Merced to Stockton to Sacramento, as these are the ideas of green sustainability with long distance travel and some of the initial ideas of the CHSR. This can help organize and unify the state and the country, and from this place we can then better consider the many side projects of the CHR, including Anaheim to LA, Merced to San Jose, and the San Francisco Bay Area and Stockton upgrading projects. I think it can be acceptable for LA to Sacramento CHSR line to use Stockton and the ACE rail through Fremont that can arrive in San Jose for a short 5 to 10 year period until San Jose finally develops the political will to deal with the eminent domain issues and planning for the CHSR to arrive in San Jose eventually. With item 3.9, with local high schools, I hope we can work towards the future of community sustainability and local democracy and ideas of peace, not war, with ideas of open public policy with the future of digital divide issues. And finally, with police items 4.1, 2, and 3, I hope the peer review program, see how much time I have here, I have 36 seconds. I hope the peer review program can grow. Let me see. I hope the peer review program can grow into some of its initial good purposes with internal investigations. I hope the ideas of Reimagine means that we can offer a 0.25% decrease in recent police wage increases and a 0.25% increase for city workers. I hope you can consider that sort of mediation. And please consider, I'll talk about flea market stuff later. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Go
Hello,
ahead.
can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Wonderful. Uh, First time I've ever done this, so please bear with me. I'm a father of two and avid citizen here looking to participate in the democratic process. I'm particularly interested in motion RC 21-16 or 616 regarding gun violence. I'm not sure if that was discussed yet. I did have some comments. I'm taking time out of work to participate. To be honest, one of my major concerns is simply the fact that I value the protection of my children, protecting them from themselves and my family from others.
Dennis,
And
I'm sorry, David.
yes,
So we're not discussing the gun harm reduction in this meeting because it's been deferred to council.
I would still prefer to make a comment in my 1 minute and 9 seconds, something for you to think about.
If you can do it in.
I will be as fast as possible. Some questions for you to think about.
David,
If guns are taxed,
we
let's
have to do it
assume
in
that a gun
proper
costs
order.
$1,000
I gotta let you go.
and a magazine is 300.
Thank you. I see no other.
Vice Mayor, this is Nora. Maybe you can explain to him that at the end, if he on open forum, if he wants to not talk about that specific item, but talk about guns generally, he can do that then.
David, I don't know if you heard that, but yes, you can, at the end of the meeting and during open forum, you can have a general comments about guns. But you have to do it at the end of the meeting. Okay, I don't see any other members of the public, so I'm gonna bring it up. David, I see you have your hand raised again. Is it specific to the agenda?
I just want to know why I was muted.
Yes, so you can make comments, but you have to wait to the end of the meeting. It has to be.
So, I mean, isn't muting someone the same as saying shut up?
David, just so you know that you can speak at the end of the meeting, and that's pretty much.
Vice
I
Mayor,
get that, but I'm
but-
just saying there's a much more democratic and polite way of going about achieving your agenda and the sensitive time that you have. And as a citizen, you work for me.
Thank you, David, but we have to move on.
Vice Mayor, do you want me to explain again? Do you care? But I could explain again why we can't have the discussion on that particular item, if you would like.
Give it another shot, Nora.
Okay, we announced at the beginning, Mr. Wilcox announced at the beginning of this meeting that there was a problem with the memo because too many members of the Rules Committee had signed it. And so we aren't, under state law, we aren't allowed to discuss it in this meeting, and we aren't allowed to have a public hearing on it. So it is automatically going to the council for a full hearing on the 29th, I believe we said. So that was the announcement at the beginning of this meeting. And that's the reason why our council members aren't able to have the discussion. Under state law, they're not allowed to. So that's that. He wasn't trying to shut you down. Nobody's trying to shut you down. We just aren't allowed to have that discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Nora. You articulated that much better than I did. So we're gonna bring it back to the committee. And Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to ask for a time, well, not really time certain, but a time item, time specific item to put item 10.3 not before 7 p.m. For the meeting next week. And with that, I would move the agenda with closed session at 8:30, item 8.2 deferred to June 29th, item 10.3 not before 7 o'clock, and the ad sheet.
Second.
Okay, and my understanding is that we're not gonna add the ad sheet at this time.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
That's correct, Tony?
No ad sheet?
Have an ad sheet, do you not
No.
want to add?
We have an ad, we would recommend you add the ad sheet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Add the ad sheet, okay,
Okay, yeah.
so I'm clear. All
Okay,
right,
so the ad sheet is added, thank you.
okay, yeah, we added the ad sheet. Okay, so thank you, Councilmember Cohen. Councilmember Perales?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Nora, for providing the explanation especially for an individual, their first time participating. Our processes are not very intuitive, and certainly the language is not always intuitive. And just to make it clear, because in case I don't know if I'm interpreting this correctly, but this message is for Paul Soto. I believe you may have interpreted incorrectly what I was trying to do last night, because I would agree with you that what you said today and what you said last night, and that's what was my intent last night, was to try and help get some clarification. There was no intent on making anybody feel as though they were ignorant on something, because I agreed with you that the term vacation last night is not intuitive. And then as well today, I would agree that it's not intuitive why we can't talk about item G2, which is on the agenda, the reducing gun harm. And so thank you, Nora, for specifying that. I'll make it even a little bit more clear. Myself, Council Member Cohen, and Vice Mayor Jones are all signatories. We're all, people that signed that item G2 along with Councilmember Carrasco and Licardo. But unfortunately, because there are 3 of us that also sit on this committee, that makes a majority of this committee of 5 individuals. And based on that, we are not allowed to talk about it in this committee. That would be the same thing with any committee. If there were 3 or more people on a particular memo, or had already given their direction on a policy item, that committee would not be able to talk about that item. And unfortunately, that happens here at Rules occasionally. And so because of that, we have to simply direct the item straight to the full council. That's the way to remedy it. So it's still, our community members, for those that came here to speak on that item, like David, you still get an opportunity to speak on that next Tuesday. But you also, as our chair said here, of Vice Mayor Jones, you can speak at public forum. It just happens to be that's at the end of the day today, which actually shouldn't be too long now. Currently, we're just on the agenda for next Tuesday, which is the item that we're taking public comment on. So all of that is not intuitive, especially if you're on your first meeting. And so thank you for Nora for the explanation, and as well to our community members for your understanding and patience. There's no intent to try and mute people or shut people up or not invite participation. There are rules that we have to follow as well, and I agree we could do a better job of explaining them. And so for that, hopefully that explanation helped a little bit, and hopefully we'll hear you at public comment, and as well with Mr. Soto as well at public comment. So on the item for the agenda for the 22nd, the only thing I'll ask for at the moment would be if we can get more of a time certain for item 10.3 and actually 10.4 that are going to be heard concurrently. I am nervous about the not to be heard before language, and I know we have a time certain already with one item, the reimagining community safety. I believe it's at 6:30. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I guess what I would ask, and who knows how long we're going to go, but if that's the case, I would like for just the item 10.3 and 10.4 to just be heard, immediately after that item. Because otherwise we could hear, if it's not before 7, we're going to hear it, God knows how late. So that would be my only ask.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment. That makes sense to have it be heard immediately after the 6:30 item.
Yeah.
I can't figure out which number that is at this point, but whatever that is on the agenda.
Is 4.3.
4.3. Okay, so to be heard immediately after 4.3.
And
Is that
that's
all right with the seconder?
Yes.
Okay.
that's it. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. One is, I don't know if there's a representative from the property owner, but I know that there was a letter issued by the Small Business Advisory Task Force requesting that the vendors can get 90 days to have a dialogue and discussion with the property owner to address some outstanding issues. And I have a strong desire to see that conversation and dialogue continues. So I don't know if it was, I see a hand raised by Galaxy S20. plus 5G. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have to take yourself off mute.
Galaxy S20 may be a caller. To unmute, please press *6.
I also know that Dennis King, who is part of the task force, also wants to provide input. So Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Is this an appropriate time to offer our commentary from the task force?
Yes, I'm asking you to, so yes.
So, pardon me, my name is Dennis King from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm speaking on behalf of the San Jose Small Business Advisory Task Force. First of all, I wanted to express our appreciation to the Bum family for its wonderful legacy of the Berryessa Flea Market. We also want to thank David Cohen. David Cohen has been trying to find common ground in this conflict. We at the task force have listened to many of the key performers at this point. And what we know is what's being proposed will be transformative to the Berryessa area and beyond. We also know that the proposed urban market is not going to be a Berryessa flea market. We know, as we hear from the merchants, that many of them simply do not understand the proposal. They do not understand its ramifications for them and for their families. We also wonder, for such a large community project, where is the community input? Where is the community input on this? We should have learned some lessons from the Google experience that we should not ignore the community and for those who are about to be displaced. And so what we strongly recommend, for the sake of all concerned, please, let's take a little extra time to do this right. Please delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm gonna ask Eric to address my questions. I see he has his hand raised, so can we allow Eric an opportunity to talk? Go ahead, Eric.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor Jones, members of the committee. My name is Eric Schoenauer. I represent the property owner and development. First of all, Dennis has had no involvement in the process for many years. So he hasn't participated in the many, many meetings that we've had with the vendors, with the community. This is an urban village planning process. You, the city, did extensive community workshops with the nearby community, and we, the owners, have met directly with the vendors. The vendors have provided us their demands in writing. I think you've seen those. And we've been working closely with Councilmember Cohen to come up with a plan to respond to their demands. And that's what will come before the council. The reason that delay is problematic is that we, for a year, have been planning to submit our application for an infill infrastructure grant from the state of California that could bring upwards of $30 million to the site to facilitate infrastructure that will result in the construction of affordable housing units. Our plan is to build all of the required affordable housing units on the site instead of just paying in lieu fees, and have affordable units integrated into the new neighborhood to create a mixed income neighborhood. The deadline to file that grant application is July 12th. And the criteria for submitting is that the project must have approved entitlements and approved EIR environmental clearance. So if the council does not take action on June 22nd, we cannot meet the criteria of the state's IIG grant on July 12th, which in all likelihood will kill our application for infrastructure and affordable housing funding. Thank you.
So Eric, come back. I have more questions for you. And one question is it only the grant that's the critical timeline? So if the grant wasn't an issue, would you still have the same timeline and critical path?
Well, the grant is the most defined timeline. The other is that, you know, we're looking for a development partner, and now is the best time to do it, because as we come out of the pandemic, there are a lot of investment dollars ready to connect with development projects. And we don't want to be on the sideline in this time where money is looking to invest in cities like San Jose. So it is important, because right now all the states are opening up and investors are making commitments to projects. And right now we have to be sitting on the sidelines, because no investor, no capital is going to come to a site with an uncertain future. So we would oppose that for that reason as well. And we don't know what else we can do. And we and Councilmember Cohen's office have extensive dialogue with the vendor advocates, and we don't have any more money to give. So, you know, we've offered up $2.5 million. We're not required to give anything. We've offered up advance notification. We've offered to participate in the flea market advisory group to work towards all these solutions. And as I've already said, we've endowed the vendor business support fund. So we don't know what else we would do, even if there were more weeks to talk about it. Because we're not Google. We're not the 6th wealthiest company on earth. We can't just give endless money.
No, I understand that, Eric. If we approve the rezoning and the Bum family sells the property, what obligation would the new owners have to honor whatever agreements are in place?
All of these parameters that we've worked with Councilmember Cohen on will become conditions of approval of the project. So they have to be implemented by any owner of the land.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for you, Eric. Thank you. And I see other members of the public have raised their hands. Dennis and Eric were addressing specific questions that I had. So we didn't open it back up for public comments. That's closed, but I can ask members of the public specific questions, and they have an opportunity to speak on that. And Raul and Nora, did I state that okay, or just checking in? All right. So bringing it back to council, I see Councilmember Cohen has his hand raised again. So go ahead, Councilmember.
Oh, let me just say, first of all, to your last question, Vice Mayor, about the conditions of approval, the staff memo and the memo coming out from our office tomorrow or by the end of the week will have a very detailed list of conditions for development. And that list of conditions will include the solutions that address each of the 5 specific demands that the vendors had at the beginning of the year that we've worked with them and discussed solutions about. And so you'll see that those are very specific, and there will be opportunities for the council to weigh in the future on the specifics of some of the arrangements, such as how the market, how the fund will be structured, how the market will be built. The purpose of this zoning meeting or the zoning change next week is to meet the requirements, conditions that were put on the property owners back in 2016 by this council, which I know that a couple of you were there. And I appreciated that because I was advocating on behalf of the school district at the time for some property rezoning that was part of that answer. But we, at the time, the council said we need more density on the south side of Berryessa Road. And so there was a requirement that the property owners came back with this additional upzoning. There was no request at the time from the council to address the displacement of the vendors, which was unfortunate. But at the beginning of this year, when I came into office, I began to stress the importance of figuring out how to prevent the displacement and retain a flea market on site. And so we've now gotten a voluntary agreement from the property owners to add to what they're coming to council for the upzoning with the details of that voluntary agreement. And this is a voluntary agreement that had to be reached between the city and the property owners at this stage. But the great thing about the agreement is that it has guaranteed as part of the zoning a place at the table for representatives of the vendors to be part of the next phase, which will be designing the flea market, figuring out how to operate and spend the funds that will be endowed by the family, by the property owner. And all of that will still be happening in the years ahead in parallel with what I hope will be an influx of some affordable housing into the area near the BART station. We know how important it is for the Bay Area, for our community, to have transit-oriented affordable housing, and getting that done first right next to a BART station is a huge win for the city. It'll be very important for my district. And I don't want to put at risk any opportunities to get funding that will help expedite the development of that affordable housing on that site. The conditions that are coming forward will be including, and we're not going to get in, I don't want to get into all the details now unless you would like to ask about them all, but one of the conditions is at least a couple years before a one-year notice would be given to the vendors of any change to the current configuration of the market. So there will be lots of time for that parallel process to occur as far as what the new market will look like and how relief funds can be allocated in order to provide resources to the vendors. So this is really just a vote at the council meeting next week to cross the starting line, of which will then enable the vendors to become part of an organization that will bring it to the finish line down several years down the road. So my belief is that for the good of the district and for the good of the city, we need to get through this first hurdle and then allow that process to play going forward.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm going to, I see that there's representatives from the vendors, Roberto. Since Roberto, I'm going to ask you, allow you to speak, and so I'm going to ask you why you feel the vendors need 90 days to work out or work through some of these issues.
Hi, Vice Mayor Jones. Can you hear me?
I'm clear.
All right. Thank you, everyone on the committee, Raul Perales, David Cohen, Nora. We appreciate giving us the floor here. The reason we're asking for a 90-day notice is because these plans have been, in action for 20 years, and not until, I want to say, the last 3 months, maybe 2 months, is when we've had the city actually get involved and step in and, ask for more from the property owner. In the plans from the get-go, there was no mention of the flea market, no mention of the vendors, no plan for us. So that's why we started this advocacy. We started raising our voices. And if that had really truly been planned out, like Dennis King said, you know, taking the example of Google, we wouldn't be here fighting so hard, you know, with tooth and nail to save our businesses, our small businesses, save our livelihoods. There's thousands of families that will be impacted by these plans, and there's no one that will be more impacted than the vendors ourselves. That's why we're asking for the 90-day deferral, so that we could all sit down and negotiate a win-win-win situation for all of us. I mean, I do want to thank Councilmember Cohen and Councilmember Perales for moving the needle forward, and we're going in the right steps, but it's still just not enough. There has been numerous times on council past that promises and words were said, and look where we are now. We're still in the same position. You know what? And to go back to Eric's point of 2.5 million, if we divvy that up between the vendors that are here, which I strongly believe is more than 450 vendors, it would be roughly $4,000 per vendor, which would not be enough to supplement us for not even a 6-month business interruption, and put the livelihoods of so many families at the line that are also residents of San Jose, that will possibly even displace them from their homes. You know, so we do need that time, and we ask for that time so we could all, now that everyone's coming to the table, to really find those solutions and find those assurances for vendors where we won't be kicked out of the place where we work, and we won't be kicked out of the place where we live.
Thank you, Roberto. Now I'm going to bring it back to the committee again. Councilmember Perales.
Thank you, Chair. And I know you tried to describe kind of why maybe public comment had closed on this item. I see all the hands still up. I don't think people understood exactly what how the rules work there as well. And so I'll try to explain that. And then I'm actually going to ask you to make an exception if you would. It is at the chair's discretion. So just for everybody that is participating, we take the public comment on items, and then we ended up closing that, and then we start discussing it as council members, and we were actually just about ready to take a vote, and then as our chair asked a couple questions of the representative of the developers here, a bunch of hands went up, and I obviously recognize a number of these hands, like Roberto, as representatives of the flea market. And so I am going to guess that maybe you just showed up a little late to the meeting, and I don't want to exclude your voice today. And I will have some comments. So Vice Mayor, I will re-raise my hand after this, if you don't mind kind of returning the floor back to me if I could. But I'd like to ask if you to make an exception to allow, I think it is 5 other individuals that have not spoken yet. And if we could allow them the 2 minutes each to speak on this item.
And Councilmember, there's 8 hands raised.
So I believe Paul Soto had already spoken on this item, and Dennis King, unless because I think you had invited him up. So it would just be the individuals that had not spoken on this item.
Okay. All right. I will honor your request, Councilmember Perales. So next speaker would be Carolina. Go ahead.
¿Me escuchan? ¿Hello?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Bueno, ¿puedo hablar español?
Sí puedes.
Okay, muy bien, gracias. Bueno, yo soy una vendedora de aquí de la Flea Market. Tengo 33 años básicamente trabajando aquí en la Flea Market, y pues como lo hemos estado diciendo desde un principio, todos sobrevivimos de lo que trabajamos aquí. No tenemos un trabajo fuera de aquí de la Flea Market, sobrevivimos solamente de lo que vendemos aquí. Entonces para mí es muy importante continuar teniendo este trabajo, este negocio. Básicamente para mí eso es lo más importante, porque es de la manera que sobrevivo, por lo que tengo de tiempo, y espero poder continuar sobreviviendo, y no nada más yo, sino todos mis compañeros que somos los que trabajamos aquí en la Flea Market. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, Vice Mayor, I can translate that.
Thank you.
So I grabbed my notepad quick. So, and I apologize, as I was grabbing my notepad, I missed her name, but she's been a vendor for 33 years at the flea market. She doesn't have any other job. This is how she makes her livelihood, is off of being a vendor at the flea market. And the most important aspect for her is to be able, she's asking as well for more time to be able to save her job. That's the most important thing for her. Thank you for.
Thank you, Councilmember. Francisco?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much to the council. And the reason why I'm raising my hand is because I believe that the city council vote is being kind of rushed, you know, and there's still very little information about the impacts of the decision that will have for the protections of the vendors and thousands of workers or jobs that are involved on the everyday activities. And this is the income that we have had for over 30 years working here at the flea market. And now this is being just rushed, you know, for interest, you know, that the interest that anybody can have. And we have not seen any research, you know, that it will have the conclusion that the $2 million or $2.5 million aid is being sufficient, you know, and the delay, it's gonna just give us the opportunity to have a win-win situation at this point. So you will have a better informed vote that it will benefit all the parties, not just one or two parties, you know, all of it. You know, the city, the vendors and the property owners that will have, you know, a better understanding of what is going on, and it'll be the better resolution for everybody. Like I said, a win-win situation for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Maria. Go ahead, Maria.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Buenas
tardes.
Go ahead, Maria.
Ok. Miren, mi nombre es María. Yo pertenezco a la Asociación de Comerciantes de la Free Market La Belleza. Tengo aproximadamente 12 años trabajando ahí. Soy una persona mayor de edad y por mi condición de salud, pues ya no me es fácil encontrar trabajo en otro lado. Somos muchísimas personas de la tercera edad que dependemos de ese trabajo, que para nosotros es indispensable tener algo con que subsistir. No queremos ser una carga para la ciudad, no queremos estar pidiendo ayuda, no queremos terminar de homeless en la calle por no poder pagar nuestras rentas. Lo único que pedimos es que se nos dé la oportunidad de trabajar y que se nos dé la oportunidad de poder negociar con los dueños de la pulga algo que sea beneficioso no solo para ellos, sino también para nosotros. Nosotros entendemos que ellos son los dueños de ese terreno, pero también entendemos que tenemos muchísimos años de darles ganancias, que no sería injusto que de su parte algo pudieran proporcionarnos. Lo que nos quieren brindar en realidad es una burla, porque lo que nosotros les estamos dando es prácticamente ese dinero que ellos nos quieren dar, yo se los doy en 2 meses de renta. Yo no puedo subsistir con $4,000 y pagar mis medicamentos y pagar todo lo que es necesario en mi familia. Quisiera que nos dieran un poco más de tiempo. Necesitamos más tiempo para poder hablar con ellos y negociar. Que nos tomen en cuenta que no somos un cero a la izquierda, que también contamos, que somos miles de personas las que dependemos de aquí, no solo los comerciantes que tenemos el negocio, sino los que trabajan con nosotros. Esperamos que nos escuchen y nos ayuden. Gracias.
Thank you. Mariana? Go ahead, Mariana.
Hi, my name is Mariana. I am the vice president of the Berryessa Flea Market Vendors Association. I had my whole script, but I was just hearing Eric talk, and he was saying that we've been talking with vendors. This plan is going for 20 years, and it benefits him now because there are developers going on this moment. But the vendors are not going to benefit from that. You want to displace vendors during this pandemic, where many of them were jobless. Many of them don't get money at the end of the month like everybody does in this meeting. We want to delay because we need the time to have a win-win situation, like Roberto was saying. We talk about pictures in the wall, but we don't realize that at this moment, at this place, there's people in the flea market. It's not an empty stand. It's actually people that are depending on the flea market right now. To representing right now to delay the vote so vendors could have more time and just be in a table. If you're not in the table, you're in the menu, and that's where we are right now. We're not in the menu. We're not being heard. Yes, we had meetings, but in those meetings, vendors were not heard and the information was not given correctly, and that's why we need a delay. We know that we cannot get a win-win solution, and we're not going to get everything that we want, and we understand that, but at least we can open a conversation to your office and the flea market so we could get to the right place and not displace flea market vendors. Well, not displace families. Like let's take the planning out of it. There's families right there who depend on it with kids who pay colleges. It's more time than just apartments. It's actually people in there. So please recommend delay the vote. It's just 90 days. We're not asking for years, and it's just to be in the table, to be something that's been for 20 years.
Thank you. Victor?
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Vasquez. I work at Somos Mayfair, and I'm also here in support of what these families are asking for, a 90-day referral to make sure that over 400 plus vendors, or they're really family businesses, small family business who represent families and children. I would say 1,200 people should be heard, and that over the 3 to 5 years, probably more, we've worked tirelessly to address anti-displacement for tenants, for business owners. And this commitment is based on, we know, racial justice, right? And economic empowerment opportunities for them, and to make sure that they're not displaced. And the flea market situation is probably our most urgent situation at this time to address in terms of anti-displacements and well-being and our commitment to these families. And so like the vendors and the families have said, they're not asking for a special favor, they're asking for time because they generated a lot of wealth for this community, for San Jose. It's put folks on the map. And so they're asking for time. And I think we support that. And we saw what happens with small family businesses in the Alamara Quarter when they had to shut down due to transportation and development. And how many Latino businesses closed down that time? We have the opportunity to support these families so that doesn't happen to them. And we're extremely supportive. Let's make sure that we support them and help them build their economic wealth and well-being as well. We're asking you for those 90 days so that everybody can win. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul already spoke on this item. Christopher is next up. Go ahead, Christopher.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, my apologies. Hello, council members. Thank you for the opportunity. I actually I did not have my hand up. At least I didn't think I did. I was listening in, but nonetheless, I will speak. I've been a 30-year resident of San Jose, and like many other residents, in particular in East San Jose, this issue is perhaps one of the most important issues taking place right now. The I's are not dotted, nor the we need more time to be able to figure out what all this means for the vendors. There's been, as already mentioned, 15 plus years of studies and plans for the other people that the city wants to accommodate on this site, but scarce attention given to the people that will be directly impacted, the people that are already on this site. And so just a few weeks is not sufficient to be able to do the kind of planning and analysis and consensus building that is necessary, and trust building, I must say, that is necessary in order to move forward together. Sometimes you have to take a step back when you realize that something was not done well. You have to take a step back in order to move forward together. Part of what's going on here is the trust issue. The city had previously said in 2007 that it would work with the vendors and the owners to find a relocation option, and the vendors were left to the side. Now here we are 13 years later, and we're just barely starting to figure out the situation. I asked for a 90-day deferral. It's not asking too much, in my opinion, so that we can all come up with a solution that works for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Luis? Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, my name is Luis, and I'm a vendor in the San Jose Barrieza, and I'm just asking for like the other people said, we need more time, because I used to work in a restaurant, and before the pandemic, and all the restaurant shut down, and now I just have selling of the flea market. If if the flea market is closed, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have family, have 3 kids, so just we're just asking for more time. We're not asking for something free. We're gonna pay rent for those 3 months. Yeah, that's all I have to say, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Blair already spoke. Wiskar?
Sorry, this is Tony. They keep reshifting and I keep clicking the wrong person. Waskar can now, I've clicked.
All right.
Now speak.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Hello, everyone. Waskar Castro, Working Partnerships, here to speak alongside the vendors and their supporters in requesting a 9-day deferral of this item. This is an opportunity. A 9-day deferral essentially gives an opportunity, really, for everyone to come to the table and negotiate an agreement, and as well as that, gives others the opportunity to conduct a more robust analysis in order to get the opportunity to really generate an accurate value capture of the value of this rezoning in general. We're talking about a whole bunch of different issues here, but we're also discussing the issue of displacement in various different forms, and a big contributor to that would be to eliminate economic opportunities, which very much is one here for what we've been talking about, 450 vendors, but I think recent updates show that there's genuinely way more than that, maybe even closer to 1,000 vendors actually within that site, which actually is another point, as the offered compensation package would be that much less per each individual vendor. So we would urge the committee to look into deferring this another 90 days and give an opportunity for folks to really come out and hammer out an agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alma? Go ahead, Alma.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. Thank you so much for having us here. My name is Alma. I'm also a vendor at the flea market, and as well as my partners, I would like to a 90-day referral, because we basically need more time to have a win-win situation. As you can see, or as you are knowing now, we haven't been informed of the plans openly, even though you are being told that we are aware of what's going on since 2007. And I would like to invite you to go and visit the flea market to see how many families will be affected. There is no need for a new plan there is no need in San Jose for a new development. You will see over there is a spot where more than 700 families are making a living to stay here in San Jose. It's true, there is only around 450 vendors, but they have some of them more of 2 spots inside, which means another person working in that spot and also even 3 people. So please give us more time to work something out together and to have a plan to help my partners, especially our elders who doesn't have any other opportunity to work outside the flea market. Working over there is the only way that they can have an income now. So please, guys, take our word in consideration and please visit us, talk to us, see what's going on. Don't stay using these meetings, councils, please. I openly invite you to go and to see for you how many people will be affected. And that money is also coming to the same economy, to San Jose. So it will be a huge impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda?
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Hello, my name is Amanda Valenzuela. I am a constituent on District 3. I have lived in San Jose my entire life. I am an advocate for the Vendor Association at the various flea market. The 90-day referral will provide time for the city council members and Mayor Liccardo to review the requests that the vendors are asking for. The following requests are allowing the vendors to stay and not be displaced. I strongly believe that our city council members and Mayor Liccardo are listening and want to support the vendors. However, trying to cast a vote within the next couple of days without the vendors being properly addressed and also included in the proposal, I think is a bit rushed. So allowing the 90-day referral to be passed, this will allow the vendors to be included in the proposal. It would provide if we can provide economic relief, allow the vendors to stay, be promised some land, but we also need this in writing, right? So if this can be all provided in the proposal, then we can have a win-win situation for our vendors. We cannot allow them to be displaced. They need to keep their livelihood. And the Berryessa Flea Market is loved by our community. It's been there for 60 years. My grandfather took me as a child, and I know many others have love and respect for our community at the Berryessa Flea Market. So I strongly believe our city council members and our mayor will do the right thing and include the vendors in the proposal. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you. Keila?
Hi, this is Kayla Escobedo. I'm the treasurer of the Berryessa Flea Market Vendors Association, and I'm also asking for an extension of the proposals so that we can further work on what is already being proposed. As you may know, we haven't really worked closely. We have worked with them, and we're barely getting aware of this new plans, and we need to further analyze them with the whole vendors. And we're not asking for any money, so we understand when Eric said, there's no more money they can give us. So we're not asking for money. We're asking for our livelihoods not to be taken away from us. So we don't want money. We want spaces so that our families can continue to work and provide for us, their kids, and for themselves. So yes, I would like to ask for further time for the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all of the public speakers. Bringing it back to the committee. Councilmember Morales, so you have your hand raised.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor, for allowing public comment to happen after we had closed it. I appreciate that. I think hearing from the vendors is important in this item, and we obviously want to make sure that they're not excluded for that, and simply because maybe missing it by a short couple minutes. And so I wanted to just read off the quick notes that I took for Maria, who spoke. I think it was Maria de Lourdes. It's up there. She stated she's been a vendor for 12 years. She also does not work anywhere else, like a lot of people that work there, not just the vendors themselves, but their employees that depend on these jobs. She was stating she doesn't know what's going to happen. She doesn't want to end up homeless if she ends up losing her job here. And she just wants time. She wants us to give her time, to give the vendors time to negotiate. And she also stated that the money that's currently was being suggested would only help for a couple months worth of rent, which would not be sufficient. And she's saying that there's thousands of people that depend on the flea market, and then she hopes that they can have more time. And so I have a couple questions, but I'll start with just some comments. And first off, thank you to the vendors and Councilmember Cohen's office. My office has been engaged since late last year when there were a couple vendors and then representatives of vendors that reached out to my office in regards to concerns that they had with not being able to engage more fully. And as Councilmember Cohen can state, we touched base about this almost immediately after he won his election. And I was able to be able to keep a part of that conversation from then until now. And I want to say thank you to his office for continuing to. And actually, as we speak, obviously there's a lot of work still going on. And thank you, Roberto, as well. And I'll reiterate here what I've already told the Vendors Association. I personally don't agree with a 90-day deferral. I think that the 90 days is arbitrary. What I do agree with is if we need a deferral, then I can support that. We have till next Tuesday to see if that is the case. If indeed we need a deferral or not, I don't believe we have to ask for one. I know we don't have to ask for one here today. We can ask for a deferral at orders of the day on Tuesday if indeed that is the desire of the council. And I will say my mind is not made up yet, and Councilmember Cohen knows this, and the vendors know that. I'm hoping we can find a way to thread this needle before next Tuesday. And I know Councilmember Cohen is as well. And that's the goal, is to try to see. We have a meeting actually tonight that was coordinated by Councilmember Cohen's office with the vendors and representatives of the Bum family over at the flea market. And the hope is that we can continue to stay in conversation. I will ask that just of Roberto. I don't expect anything less. Roberto has been tremendously willing to be cooperative through this. And my hope, though, is that we can find a way to come to an agreement before Tuesday. If we can't, then we can ask for a deferral if supported by the council at that time, at orders of the day. So for those that are very interested in that, I would just say that let's not lose hope that we can't potentially get there within the next couple of days. But if we can, I certainly agree with where the vendors' concerns are that that a little bit more time should not really be something that dissuades any of us. I could see why 90 days is maybe sounds like that would be a little bit too much time, and I wouldn't ask specifically for something like 90 days. I would say let's defer it until we need to, and we believe that it's not worthwhile anymore, or we can't achieve anything else. I do want to ask Eric Schoenhauer a question. I don't know if he's still on the call. I do believe he's there, if we don't mind bringing Eric up. And Eric, are you able to speak?
Yes, I'm on now.
Hi, Eric, thank you. So you had mentioned in regards to some of the reason for the timeliness and why, as Vice Mayor Jones had asked around, some of the urgency on the time here. And tell me if I'm wrong, but my interpretation of the notice of funding availability, the NOFA that you were referencing, it doesn't have a requirement, the way that I'm reading it, that the land use entitlements and on the infill areas, as I'm reading it here, that the land use authority has to actually be finalized. It's just it could dock you points in that process. So it could hurt your application, but it doesn't necessarily disqualify it. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. So it's a point rating system. It's a 250 point system. And I gave you all the documents, so you have them in front of you right there.
Yes.
And it's a 250-point system. Project readiness is 100 of those 250 points. And in that category of project readiness, environmental review and entitlements are a combined 50 points. Combined 50 points. And the criteria is that the entitlement and this environmental review has to be in place on the application due date. And you can see that on page 27 and page 28. I circled it in red for you. So, I mean, there's no way we would be successful in the competition if we're docked 50 points out of 250 on day one. It would be nonsensical to even apply because there's no way of competing. These are very, very competitive processes statewide. And we have a great chance of success because our project is exactly what the state of California is looking for. They want new large-scale development at major transit stations that will provide affordable housing within the developments. We're exactly what this program is about. But if we lose 50 points on day one, we don't see any chance that we would succeed.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. That was my only question for you. And I just wanted it to be clear as well and specific because and sometimes we speak in short, right, and make statements, and I wanted it to be very clear. That was all the questions I had for Eric. So wanted it to be very clear that there wasn't necessarily a disqualifier if we indeed decide to defer this item, but I would not disagree with Eric's interpretation that the potential loss of, you know, whether it's 25 or 50 points, I would have to get a little bit more clarity because I would say, Eric, I don't 100% agree with your interpretation, but I'm not the expert on these applications. So I do think it's possible that up to the 50 points you could lose, and that may very well be significant enough to not qualify, but that it's not automatically a disqualifier in the grant system. Just to be, again, very, very clear to know what we're all sort of up against here. And quite frankly, as you know, Eric, this was a kind of a last minute item brought to our attention as sort of we're looking at, you know, do we need an extra week or do we need some more time, potentially even a couple weeks, which unfortunately we're coming up to a July recess, which I think is clearly also another factor. You have a July 12th deadline. We don't meet in July. And so a deferral past 2 weeks is going to put this thing into August. And so that's another factor, just a reality on what we're up against. And so, and I'm very aware of that. But at the same time, again, just wanted it to be clear that there wasn't some sort of disqualifier for the decision we may take to defer. And I have, you know, again, my some questions myself that I'd like to try to iron out. And, you know, I may not be completely comfortable come Tuesday, and that's a decision I have to make. But I will give it my all. And that's, again, what I'll ask for the vendors to Roberto. We'll see you tonight. I think we will be in conversation a lot between now and Tuesday. I know Councilmember Cohen is dedicated as well. We have certainly come a long way and much further than I think would have happened before we were there last year. And I think that the lack of collaboration that we saw happening last year, and Councilmember Cohen has stepped in to really try and move that needle. And so I look forward to the next couple of days ahead, and we'll see what Tuesday brings. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Councilmember Cohen, before you, I know you have your hand up. Before you speak, I just want to just also recognize that I know full well the effort and time and energy that you put into getting this whole project and addressing everybody's concerns and needs and trying to get everything to be in alignment. And I really have an appreciation for that. So I want you to feel like, you know, after you've gone through this process and done all this hard work, that, you know, we're or I'm just trying to jump in at the 11th hour to try to muck up the process. But as you also know too, that I have a strong commitment and a desire to support small businesses and minority businesses. And the flea market is the ultimate in that demographic. So it's incumbent upon me, if I'm gonna, be true to my principles, to do everything that I can to support those vendors and make sure that they're taken care of. So I just want to just get that out there because I do have an appreciation for all your hard work and efforts. So I'll pass it back to you. Go ahead, Councilmember Cohen.
Well, I appreciate that. And this isn't really about me and the work that our office has put in, but about the small businesses that we're advocating on behalf of, all of whom are constituents of District 4, because anyone who operates a business in District 4 is a constituent of mine. So we're advocating on their behalf, and that's been the only motivation we've had for this. I just want to also comment about something that Councilmember Perales said about the timeline. We're at the end of this clock because of July recess, but I do want to make it clear why we're at the end of June and at the end of the clock. This item's been deferred 3 times. It was supposed to come last December. It was supposed to come in the spring, and it got deferred, rightfully so that we could work on the things that would help preserve the space and provide the opportunity and resources to make sure that these businesses have a place to continue to operate. And it's really not just, that's a really important part of it, but it's also about the community amenity of having a flea market here in our district. I live, having lived within walking distance of the flea market and gone with my family monthly for years and brought every visitor that comes into town to the flea market. It's important to the community. It's important to me. It's important to everybody. So I had a sincere interest in making sure the flea market continued. 5 years ago, when people here were on the council, that this was brought forward, and there wasn't much talk at the time about what would happen to the vendors. It could have been, as a new council member coming in, it could have certainly been easy to say, well, let's do what the council has always done, which is not consider this element of it. But we were doing what we think was the right thing to do, which was find an agreement. And this agreement, just one last point, this agreement is a voluntary agreement that we just want to make sure doesn't fall apart, that we are going to have something in place to preserve the vendors. And I also just want to make sure it's clear to everybody on this here in the meeting that the council has entitled this property. The council entitled this property 14 years ago in 2007. At that time, that entitlement meant the flea market would close and meant that this development would occur at some future date. As the date gets closer, it becomes more urgent that we work on something to address the potential displacement and try to prevent it and try to give resources to help people. And that's what we're trying to do here. But not passing this, not passing this upzoning item on the agenda does not preserve the flea market as it is. It just allows the property owners and developers to build under the previously entitled zoning for that property, which would not have zoned space for the urban market. One of the really important elements, there's lots of important elements that will come forward when the staff memo comes out, but really big important element is there's now going to be zoned space for an urban market on that property, which means that that is a required element of the future development. So having said all that, I think I've kind of explained where I'm coming from. I hope that we can continue to work, as Councilmember Perales said, to resolve any outstanding issues between now and Tuesday, but all the outstanding issues don't have to be resolved because, as I said, the agreement puts in place a framework for the parties to continue to work together going forward. And I hope that it won't be a question at that point of the city or the council offices or anybody else having to broker anything, but that agreement will work and that the representatives of the vendors, the representatives of the developers will be able to work together to come up with the best plan for that site. So with that, I'm done.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm going to support the motion with the caveat, just like my colleague, Councilmember Perales, that when we debate this or discuss this on Tuesday, that, you know, obviously the devil's in the details, and I'd like to see all the details and just have a comfort level that the vendors will have an opportunity to continue to engage in dialogue and get their wishes and desires expressed to the property owner. So on that note, do we have a motion and a second? So Tony?
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are on to the agenda for June 29th. And we're going to start out on pages 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, 14 and 15, 16 and 17, 18 and 19, 20 and 21, 22 and 23, 24 and 25. All right. And there's no ad sheet. And I see we have 4 hands raised. Erica, I'm assuming yours is from the prior item, so I'm going to skip you and go to Tessa.
Hi, thank you very much. Well, I guess I've been doing the best I can to follow along, but the issue that I'm very concerned about is the transportation management in downtown. And we've been talking about making San Jose car free. Downtown needs to be car free. And my daughter just recently went to Santa Barbara, and the State Street, which had no parking to begin with, there was never any parking on State Street. But now the whole street has been closed off, and it became a beautiful piazza for the people dancing and enjoying the streets, which is the problem with what's happened in our streets currently. We need to reclaim the streets. It's that, you know, we've lost to the car, and it has been killing us and disabling us in so many ways. And so the model of what we need to do with downtown San Jose and Santa Clara Street is to make it car free. It needs to be a car free zone. And that would also change the dimensions of what, in terms of the BART, when we made the compromises about doing BART for the business friendliness of our city, which was the wrong value instead of public safety and health. And now even more so with BART, you know, being really unsustainable. Nobody wants to be in the dungeon in a cell down there in a BART with our pandemic, and it's still going on, as you know. And the thing is that the choices we made about the BART coming into San Jose because we wanted to keep the traffic flowing, that was the wrong choice. And so there's many choices that we're making, and one of them is to make downtown San Jose car free, as we address many of our crises, which we have to address more than one. And climate crisis is the most important. And so we need to be bringing our fossil fuels to zero. And that is the truth. And so how we do that so we can have a future and we don't go extinct, which is on the table.
Thank you. Paul?
Vice Mayor Jones, I'm serious. I cannot extend to you or over express my gratitude for what you did with respect to the item, because a leader, somebody that has power, his responsibility and duty is to give it to those that have none. And yeah, I saw that exercise here in a very diplomatic, a very humane way, and I appreciate that. Secondly, I didn't have enough. I guess maybe there was some confusion, but I didn't speak on the item when I saw the kind of way that it started turning. That's when I raised the hand. But I would like. I want to get into that fight, so I would like it if Roberto is listening, if you can contact me with respect to the agenda items. Sometimes politics is optics. We cannot continue to defer the reimagining. I'm asking the council to no longer defer those items because it says something. It says something if they can just the fact that we couldn't come to Oakland's handling it, Sacramento, all these other cities are actually implementing the policies right now. San Jose couldn't. Okay, so this is right there. This is what builds the trust between the people and the citizenry and the institutions that are in place to protect them. And when the council keeps deferring, what it is saying is that the people's voice and the people's issues are not important enough. And optics doesn't look good. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Thanks a lot for the first words of Paul Soto on this public comment. Excuse me. I was really impressed with how you handled it to offer extra public comment as well, Councilperson Jones and Perales. Thank you. It was really helpful, and I learned a lot. Albeit my ego is hurt, but I've learned a lot just in the past half hour. So thank you. I wanted to quickly offer with item 8.3 about working with Sacred Heart on issues of rental assistance in this era of COVID. A couple items to mention. I think there are ways to work with the economy at this time and negotiate with developers where we don't have to suspend the affordable housing impact fee, and that with the eviction moratorium issue coming up by the end of June, a reminder in the good help of state and federal funding ideas, I hope we can be open in how the subsidy process can create funding streams and practices for many local government programs at this time. It is from this local government needs to learn to explain these available choices clearly, and that everyday community, both owners and tenants, do not have to feel afraid to ask how these programs can help, can be to help themselves, can be of help to themselves, you know, and our work in the community. I also wanted to comment at the beginning of the meeting about, you know, the council agenda items, that the gun issue will not be happening, and that, you know, that should allow time at open forum. The person can be allowed to speak about the issue at open forum time, can he? That's a procedural question. You tried to answer it. I hope you can answer it at this time if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the public speakers. Bringing it back over to the committee and Councilmember Perales.
Thank you. And just to kind of go backwards here to help out for Blair's question, yes, the public speaker, David, can speak at open forum today on that item he was trying to speak about on gun protections. And then we did approve, we no longer deferred the reimagining community safety item to be heard. That was actually on the last item we voted on. So that will be heard next week. And that was the one time certain item at 6:30 p.m. So for if there was confusion on that, that is no longer deferred. I would agree with Paul. We're actually happy that we're going to hear that update next Tuesday. And then for the current item, it looked like housing staff had asked for a deferral of the citing policy. And it was 1 week, so it would be now on this calendar. And I won't ask for the exact time certain right now, but that's an item I would like to have a time certain on. So I'm going to suggest, around the after dinner time, like we've done before, 6:30 or something. But we can leave that up for a formal motion next week. So, but I'm just giving staff a heads up. That's something I'd like to see. For now, thank you. For now, I'll move approval of, and I'm blanking on the date. Sorry.
The 29th. Before we get a second, I am aware there's an opportunity to defer item 3.3, the appeals hearing board interviews, if there's a desire of the committee to lighten some of the agenda for that day.
Hi, this is Tony. The last I heard, they needed the appeals hearing board to do hearings in July, and I believe there's only one candidate, unless Lee heard something different.
I had heard that there wasn't anything scheduled, but if you have more up-to-date information,
well, mine's from a few weeks ago.
Out of being conservative, I would say that we would leave it on the agenda for now and possibly deal with this next week if we have conflicting information.
Sounds like a plan. So I will withdraw my suggestion and we'll go with the motion, and if we can get a second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Let's see. And Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, just a simple question. The East Side Wireless Network item was also deferred from the 22nd to the 29th. So I assume those two items will come back as an ad sheet next week then for the 29th agenda?
They would, and there's the possibility that the East Side Union might get pushed to the first meeting of August as well. There's additional details to get worked out, but they would be brought forward next week as ads.
So are there still some contractual issues on that to work out? Because we don't want to, we wouldn't want to have to delay that build out longer than necessary, but are there still?
I think it's some small technical and contractual issues. And so the teams are meeting, I think, as we speak and tomorrow to tighten those up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, Tony?
To clarify, did we have an 11 a.m. start time on the 29th?
The 29th, I believe, was 1:30.
Yeah, it's 1:30. I wasn't sure if you guys had suggested starting it earlier.
We might as well
make that suggestion within the motion if the seconder's fine with it.
Yeah, we might as well just do it now because it's gonna happen.
You know, Nora's gonna ask for at least 9 then. I can see it on her face. I don't have that agenda yet, so we'll see. It depends on what you don't finish next Tuesday.
All right.
Okay, so Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Morales?
Yes.
Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So on to item D, schedule meeting schedules. Let me see if there are any public comments. Yes. Go ahead, Tessa.
Thank you. I guess that D is that demand transportation management. So I guess it's the same issues that, really need to be addressed as we reimagine ourselves and we really address our major crisis of climate and climate change and how we're going to go forward and no more BS, as I say, and that we have to really start making the reductions and having that our leadership do that. But it's very difficult for our leadership to do that because they are in the pockets of our of all the businesses as usual, and that's what funds their campaigns. And so that's what the problem is, and that's where Extinction Rebellion says that we need a citizens action committee to really make the changes. And so, as part of that citizen action committee, I'm saying that we need to have a reduction in our use of the automobile, and that it needs to go away, really. And even the electric car is not the solution, because it still has 100 miles per hour and tinted windows and issues like that. And it still is, the car itself, kills 40,000, I think it's 40,000 a year Americans, and maims and disables 3 million every year. And so we really need to, that your job is truly to protect us from harm. And so how we create a society without the car is what we have to start doing. And the other issue is, I was anyway last night when Sergio Jimenez showed us the budget, I was very dismayed that my city council member did not put in the fixing of Stockton Avenue and putting in the left-hand turn arrows. Deb Davis needs to put that into our agenda, into our.
Yes, sir. Blair?
Hi, thank you. This sounds like a really interesting, hopeful meeting that you'll be having in August. And it brings back Tesla and it brings back, our better practices and, the sustainable future ideas that we were totally building before COVID. And, this is our regular good stuff. So thank you. We are now in a bit of a different situation and dynamic after COVID. I hope I can speak about the relation and all the items that you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about housing, equity issues. I mean, just a whole, green sustainability. I hope this can be a time I can talk about mass transportation issues and the future of, say, the VTA as a part of this process. And, I hope this can be a time to start to consider that, how are we going to bring back mass transportation as a part of this structure of this meeting? And is it the idea, I mentioned aerosol vaccines before. Do we talk about that subject more often and make it more comfortable as a use in vehicles, in buses, to offer a sense of safety and convenience and comfort and actually protection and good practices? And what are the moral implications of that? Do we talk about that openly and learn to talk about that openly and make it comfortable? For me, I'd like to make the subject comfortable because I think it can be worked out, but there are moral questions that have to be asked about it. And, it's from that, I think we really concentrate on rebuilding the light rail and how to be more positive about the future of the light rail again. And I mean, that's green sustainability is at its finest. And consider the future of AV use. I'll talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Hello again, and I just wanted to express thanks and appreciation for the council to clarifying the process. I appreciate just being informed and seeking to clarify and educate. Being a member of this community, that's valuable to me, and just thank you. I suppose my position, we are a technology family. We help drive some of the awesome technology that is built right here in Silicon Valley. San Jose just so happens to be a wonderful suburban lifestyle for a family. And I suppose my question is more to how do we maintain that livelihood? I have 2 children. We have daycare. We have multiple locations and activities all over the city. Cars are a critical means of really getting there and to and from, and handling incredibly complex logistics. And so I'm all 100% for finding better ways of doing things and iterating. That's kind of one of the major principles we have in technology. I kind of ask the council and the community to have a conversation around, is just banning cars the right way, or can we incentivize just new effective means of both transportation or better commuting? I mean, everyone commutes from San Jose to various companies. It's a one direction in and out. And I know that there's some efforts to diversify where those technology companies are located. So, you know, public transportation is also a great consideration. And so just some thoughts that, you know, how do we accommodate those who require cars as a critical means of everyday life?
Thank you. So that's it for our public speakers. So bring it back over to the committee. And I don't see any hands raised, so can I get a motion, please?
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Owen,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the public record, and we have several speakers. Go ahead, Paul. Paul dropped.
Put his hand down.
Okay, go ahead, Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I wanted to talk, one of my public letters was a simple ask that I hope we can learn to get the VTA bus bridge light rail going. I mean, if not the light rail this time, then at least the bus bridge, a bus bridge shuttle from downtown up to Tasman. It could be a simple line that would be, you know, 4 drivers an hour each way, once every half hour. You know, I think it's important that we have some sort of regularity to our schedule. There isn't buses that go up and down First Street, and a lot of transportation, a lot of housing around the Gish area, Gish and First, and at the north end, there's a lot of housing. There's the Santa Clara County Probation and just Health Services Department, and the VTA itself. There's major services that it's a lot of effort, whereas the other VTA light rail lines around the city can be covered by bus service. The First Street cannot. I hope we can work on this issue and really think of, we have to start thinking of our more positive ideas, and the light rail isn't such a bad guy. And I think hopefully we can think of the future of AV, automatic vehicle use, that I don't want to disrespect the mayor who's working and pushing really hard for the AV to replace the light rail. Why not? We're considering so much the Diridon to airport underground tunnel system transportation service. That would be a perfect place to practice the automatic vehicle things, and then work up top to get the light rail going again with new transit line ideas to focus around light rail being the center of our future. And we can get that more positive energy going and learn how to not treat the light rail as our distant third cousin, you know, and treat it as our green sustainability friend and center of a city, a process and community that we can all enjoy.
Person with the number 4963.
Yeah, hi, Martha O'Connell, speaking as an individual and not as a member of any commission of which I may be a member. I'd like to draw your attention to the letter from the Housing Commission, the recommendation on the rent increases. The Housing Commission, by a vote of 8-3, voted to continue the 2021 rent increase moratorium through August 31st. During the public meeting, the chair changed her vote for 2 reasons. She stated that one was the argument of Commissioner Andrea Wheeler, that this change affected only a small minority of renters and it aligned with the end of the eviction moratorium. And 2, the slew of articles in the Mercury News that document that the distribution system of the rent relief funds is broken. Absolutely and almost completely broken. Folks should not get rent increases while they wait month after month for funding for which they have applied. Maybe if private industry had been put in charge of the distribution, the money, distributing the money instead of the government, it would already be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Tessa?
Thank you. So this is public comment. So basically, I think, anyway, I want to discuss something that's critical to my neighborhood, which is 615 Stockton Avenue, and how it's, from my research, that it was actually Deb Davis and the council in agreement to not allow affordable housing. That's the research I found, even though Deb Davis said it was something to do with the state. It wasn't to do with the state of California. It was unless she can prove me wrong. It was the decision that was protecting businesses, that we would not have affordable housing at 615. What?
I'm sorry for interrupting. Which letter are you referring to?
Oh, what letter? Well, I don't know what letter. Oh, you mean what on the agenda?
Yeah, this is the public record.
Oh, public record. Okay, I don't know what letter. So the public record. Oh, the letter. I don't know. I'm just talking about the fact that the zoning was not allowed. Affordable housing was not allowed at 615 Stockton Avenue, though it was proposed because of protecting the businesses. What?
I'm sorry for interrupting again. So the public record is an opportunity to speak to any letters that have been submitted to the city.
Oh, okay.
So,
oh, that's beautiful. Okay, good.
So
okay, good. Public record. So what letter? Okay, the letter to the city. Okay, there is a letter. That's good. Thank you, sweetie. I really appreciate it because there was a letter and it came from Edward Sound. And Edward Sound, who's on the SHPNA, he's on the public he deals with permitting, he deals with planning for the Shasta Township Neighborhood Park Association. And his letter was, it was a very poor decision for it to become a hotel. And we're still fighting it. Our neighborhood is fighting it. And that when we had the city, when we was proposed for affordable housing, which would be better than a hotel, because hotel is part of our past. We need to put that in our past, traveling. We need to stay home and stop burning fossil fuels. Hotels are part of our past. Our future is affordable housing because we have the climate crisis is going to bring so many people that are, what do they call it? Climate refugees. We need housing, and housing was stopped because it was protecting businesses, to keep housing away from businesses instead of controlling businesses.
Thank you, Tessa. All right, coming back to the committee, can I get a motion, please?
Motion to note and file.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Morales?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. And we have public speaker. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank yourselves again for how you handled the first item today. And Councilperson Perales said there was a first speaker speaking about the gun issues, and that it's the democratic process. Sometimes it isn't intuitive, yet it's really intuitive inside all of us. Yet sometimes it isn't intuitive as we work it out. So thanks for the patience in listening to ourselves and trying to just make a council meeting process organized and respectable. And some people, it takes a little bit of extra effort. Thanks for your patience with that.
Thank you. Paul? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul Soto. I'm speaking with respect to the acknowledgement of the immigrant community. I would like to remind the committee, the council, that I would challenge the council to think about the fact that there is no such thing as a Mexican immigrant in the state of California. Think about this. You see, the Mexican, the Chicano, is different than any other race in the world. Why is that? Is because he is considered, he is the only one. Think about all the races from the sociological perspective, anthropological perspective. The Chicano and the Mexican is the only group of people that is considered immigrants in the land of their ancestry. This is why language is so critically important, is because what happens is that language conveys principles, values, and what it can also do is prevent a certain degree of humanity in response to what other human beings have experienced. And so we do ourselves as a species a disservice when we do not acknowledge the fact that there is no such thing as a Mexican immigrant in the state of California. Because what that does, by stating that the Mexican is an immigrant, is you are denying him his ancestral and birthright. This is where the crime happens. That's the DNA right there, the language. We know all about Peter Burnett. We have to have this conversation. I'm serious. I've literally spent hours and hours researching it. We gotta have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tessa?
Okay, thank you. There's my calendar. Okay, good. So basically, appreciate what everybody's saying. I was looking at the consent calendar, and it's a lot of park and recreation. So the other imagining that I've been dealing with in terms of my neighborhood, 615 Stockton Avenue, at the intersection of Shealy. This is a very historic neighborhood. And like Paul was saying, how we, capitalism has exploited people and nature for profit. So we are right here next to the El Camino, next to the great road, the important road of the El Camino, with the history of the Native American and the abuses that happened here. And the other abuse that has happened here is the land grab for commercial development. And that has been going on in our neighborhood. And so what I've been also proposing for 615 is that, yes, we bring the Garden Alameda back to being a food garden again in terms of our food crisis and sustainability, that we need to grow food locally. And so if I look at the history of our neighborhood from Lincoln High School, that was a Future Farmers of America site. And it was sold because the developer, and it became commercial property that the school board, even though it was endowed to the city to be open land. And this has happened so many times. It happened at the old city hall. The land was endowed to stay agriculture, and it changed. It also happened at Emma Prush Park. Emma Prush Park, the little park, we say, oh, it's so great. Well, we lost more than half of it. It went to the highway. So this is where a development has taken our lands. And I'm saying we need to take the lands back, and we need to grow food. And I am proposing to the governor of California to say that we need to buy that 615 and to bring it back to agriculture. Let's make a comment to that. It goes back to agriculture, because that's what we need, is urban sustainability, to grow food locally.
Thank you, Tessa. Bring it back to the committee. Councilmember Perales.
I just wanted to move approval. I forgot if we had done that already. Apologize.
Nope. So can I get a second? Or not?
I think we lost.
Second, sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Did we lose Councilmember Davis?
Yes, she texted me that she had to go to another meeting.
Okay.
So
All right,
Cohen,
Aye.
Perales,
Yes.
Davis, or Jones.
Yes.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, on to, so the gun harm reduction has been moved to the 29th agenda. So we're on to open forum. And the first speaker is Tessa.
Okay,
If
good.
I can just jump in so that we make sure our participant David knows this is the opportunity he has to chime in. So
I appreciate that. I was looking out for him too. So thank you, Councilmember.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Basically, talking about the BART to Santa Clara needs to stop. We need to stop the BART to Santa Clara. It needs to stop at Diridon. We need to reduce, I mean, the science is saying we need to reduce our consumption of fossil fuels 50%. And so that is part of how we need to go forward. And and bringing BART to Santa Clara is a problem. And, you know, because we're spending over $1 billion to go that 1 mile and to build what is that called? A maintenance yard, an equipment yard, you know, cleaning yard, whatever. And we already have a great one that we spent a lot of state dollars on in Hayward. So the train needs to just go back to Hayward and do that. That's one way we could do BART. And the reason why, the critical reason that we need to stop BART to Santa Clara is that we need to take those dollars, those tax dollars, those sales tax that are actually, you know, with blood on our hands because we are become so consumer oriented in all the fossil fuels that we use for our consumer consumption, that those dollars need to be used collectively to solve our critical problems. And that going to Santa Clara doesn't solve the critical problem. And how I envision it to go is that the monies should be realigned, Measure B monies should be realigned to create a world-class bicycle and walking infrastructure. That's where it needs to go, even beyond public transit. Our range needs to be very hyper local. And that's where we need to work at home, all those that can. And then we have a world-class bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure that we move around on. And that's where the countries that have, you know, followed the science, you know, way back in 1979, we had the oil embargo. That's why the European countries have developed a world-class bicycle infrastructure, and we need that. And to fix our roads for traffic calming, and to create the type of thing so we can walk around safely and be away from the.
Thank you, Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks a lot for the meeting today. To try to make myself clear from last night, or more clear, Measure T Public Oversight Commission, they're looking for public outreach about how to work towards better public outreach for their meetings and their purpose, basically. I think this can be a really good time to reintroduce open public policy and accountability ideas to them, you know, from the ACLU, all the good surveillance and technology ordinance ideas. I mean, there's a whole system that is trying to teach better practices of community democracy, basically. And I think it would give them a lot of good pointers and important lessons, and in fact, work towards, you know, a more shared effort of community and, you know, it's government and commissions working towards a technology future together. It's the idea of the technology review board that we've been dreaming of and working towards, but yet can't seem to quite do, with the public having much more say and much more important part of the process. That's the future goal. They can simply review what the ACLU stuff is doing and just realize how good it is and how good it feels. That should help bring in, you know, some really important changes. Good luck on how you work on it. I really wanted to speak on the flea market items. You know, Mr. Scheinhauer, he's doing this funding thing. Is that going to rush us into doing a whole bunch of other things afterwards? If we can do the funding thing without being rushed to work with new developers so we can all work on the issue together, that's an important purpose, I think. If we can really slow down, if he does go for this California state funding and not push for having a bunch of developers immediately afterwards so we can take our time, that's key. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul? Go ahead.
In 1 month, thank you, Vice Mayor. In 1 month, for the indigenous populations, it will be 500 years that Hernan Cortez docked his ships in Veracruz, bringing this system of the exploitation, the commodification, and the dehumanization of a human being That's what this is about. 500 years. Okay, I'm a California native mission Indian. I am a dueño from the mission. My ancestors built the mission San Diego. We had to deal with Junipero Serra. We had to deal with Cortez. We had to deal with Hoover deporting us in the 30s, blaming us. Can you imagine that? Blaming a Mexican because he's taking the job. So they deported American citizens that were of Mexican descent. Okay, and then 10 years later, they beg us, please come back, Mexicans, so that we can build this country because they were going off to war. I'll give you one guess as to who is the most decorated soldier in World War II. The most decorated soldier has 38 Congressional Medals of Honor. You guessed it, the Mexican. These are historical facts. Okay, and what Google, Gary Dillabo, Eric Hayden, all the urban community, urban catalyst, Scott Neese, all these dudes are playing chess with my existence. And I take great offense to that because the land has not been reckoned with. It has not been reckoned with. There has been no rectitude. There has been no reconciliation, and there has been no reparation. And until we get to that point, the land and the people and the corruption will continue. I'm cautioning. I am cautioning as a citizen, as one that experienced that onslaught of oppression 500 years ago next month.
Thank you. The person with the number ending 4963.
Yeah, hi, Martha O'Connell. I'm really sorry that Councilperson Davis left because I wanted to commend her. Last night, I didn't watch the meeting last night because I can't stay up that way. It's discrimination against the disabled to have these bloody meetings that go on until after midnight. So I had to watch the meeting this morning, and of course, I didn't have a chance to speak. And there were 3 council members who voted no to extend the meeting till 12:30. Councilperson Foley, Councilperson Davis, and Councilperson Jones. Thank you very much for doing that. And I have to tell you that I applaud Sam Liccardo when he cuts the time to 1 minute, because quite frankly, I don't call into these meetings to entertain myself. I don't speak on every single item on the agenda. I'm petitioning my government. And when the same 5 or 6 people talk on every single item for 2 minutes, let's say there's 5 of them and they're talking for 2 minutes, and they're talking on 6 items. I have to sit for an extra hour to try to get my time in, and I'm only wanting to speak on one item. So, I mean, this is, in my opinion, outrageous, and I wish that people would consider others beside themselves and their need to pontificate on every item that comes before the council, because you're shutting out people like me that simply can't stay up until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and so our voices are not heard. So thank you very much, and kudos to Davis, Foley, and Jones. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, David, now's your opportunity.
Thank you very much. And once again, I thank you for educating me on the process, as I am new to this forum, and I just appreciate that effort. You know, as I said, as a father, I have particular concern about this, particularly from a safety perspective of my family and also of my children from themselves. I'm, you know, if we look at a purchase of a gun, most people, they don't buy more than one of the same gun. They buy different guns, and there's certain costs associated with every gun. If you think about it, if I were to go out and buy a rifle today, let's just say the rifle is $2,000, sights $300, magazine $100, ammo $250 at least, an ammo box is $300, and I have the opportunity to spend $600 and buy a safe and the appropriate locking mechanism. Now, my gun comes, if I were to buy it, comes with a OEM lock for free. It's a trigger lock. The trigger lock does not prevent anyone getting possession of the gun or potentially tampering with that trigger lock. So what I'm left with is a choice. If additional costs are placed on the purchase of my gun, already it's costing an arm and a leg, either I could forego buying a safe or I could buy insurance. Now, insurance isn't going to prevent my kids accidentally shooting themselves, but a safe would. So I'm just kind of asking this as a question to the council to consider. Are we really incentivizing really some of the more dangerous aspects of gun ownership, which is just storing it safely and securely? Yes, there's always people out there who are malicious and have malicious intent. I doubt people with malicious intent will pay insurance. But are we incentivizing the use of guns safe to protect our children and our families from themselves? Thank you.
Thank you. Person with the number ending 5140. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm
we can hear-
unmuted.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right, you guys, everyone who's sitting around in their home office there, I want you to raise your hand if you're in favor of gun control. Get your hands up there. Raise them up. I want to know who you are. Now, if you got your hand raised up there, I want you to put it at a 45-degree angle and yell Sig Heil. Okay? Yell Sig Heil, because it all starts with this. This ordinance that you want to do, what's Sam going to do? Come on a bicycle to people's houses and take their guns away? No, who's he going to send? San Jose pot dealers or San Jose pot derelicts with Raul Perales? Is he going to be the guy who's going to be ramming the door into people's houses to know where guns are? This is the most insane thing I've ever heard of. Sam soft sold it as, oh, it's only if people commit crimes with it. This is the first step of tyranny. You tell me every dictator who's ever lived has taken guns away. Mao did it. Pol Pot did it. Hitler did it. Mussolini did it. Stalin did it. The English government did it. The European governments still do it. Do you want to go down that road? Because it's going to be bad. And San Jose pot derelicts, that's what I'm going to call them. That's what SJPD stands for now. Who can't come out to a call. Takes them an hour to come out to calls sometimes. Are citizens going to have to wait to be protected and served by the worst police department on the planet? And now they've got the time to come out and knock on your door to see if there's a firearm somewhere in the house? How are they going to do that? How is this going to stand up to the Second Amendment? It's going to lose. It's going to lose, and it's going to cost the city a lot of money. And these ordinances are fascistic, and Sam knows it. Sam is the worst mayor on the planet right now. He's even worse than them.
All right, that was the last public speaker. So the meeting is adjourned.